this is to end in fire, then we shall all burn together. Watch the flames climb high into the night, calling out, Father, oh, stand by and we will watch the flames burn over and on the mountainside.
Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another episode of An Axe to Grind. These are a series of hobby-side videos that we are dedicating to the creation as well as building of our Dwarf Army. And as you can see in this video, just from the heads up that we have here, we actually have quite a bit of this army kind of completed. In fact, if I was to do the calculations for this army is about 2,000 points. Give or take 100 points or so, depending on how you kind of want to kit them out and stuff like that. And as you can see, it is coming along very, very nicely. As you can see, we have 3 units of infantry fully completed. I say infantry, but because, you know, all dwarves in Warhammer have always been infantry based. It's not like they're cavalry models or anything. I'm not sure why I'm saying that. But anyways, I digress. So as you can see, we have 3 units of infantry fully completed out, and we also have 4 war machines with crews also completed as well. If I had to take a guess how long this took to get this 2,000 point army fully completed, if I took all the time and added back to back, I would say about 2.5 months of solid work was spent on these guys so far. And as you can see, I am very, very happy with the way that the result is coming out on these guys. So we're going to zoom in real quick. We'll talk about each of the individual units real quick and talk about the design concept behind each of the units and how we went about painting them up and what this army is about. So just to give you guys a little introduction about what this army is, the army is very narrative based. Anybody who's watched my channel, who watches my battle reports, know I'm very, very big on the whole narrative piece of the hobby. I love naming units. I love naming characters. I love giving armies backstories. There's a lot of fluff and lore from all the Warhammer games and fantasy games in general. So because of that, my dwarves are not going to be the exception from that. Every single army that I paint up has a story behind it. And so with these guys, this army is called the army. Basically, these guys are called the Fellhold Nations, what they're called. The reason why I call them the Fellhold Nations is because if anybody who's ever read the lore on Warhammer Fantasy, especially during the 8th edition, as well as earlier editions of Warhammer, people know that the dwarves once had a massive empire spreading across the entirety of the World's Edge Mountains and in different mountain ranges throughout the old world. However, because of the Age of Chaos and wars with elves and wars with, orcs and goblins and Skaven, their empire has crumbled down to only just a handful of strongholds spread throughout the World Age Mountains. And the way you think about it, if you think about it in a certain sense, the dwarves are kind of like a tragic race in the world of Warhammer, because every single time a nation falls, these dwarves are displaced and they have to find new homes, kind of like refugees. And they basically have to go to different dwarven holds and swear their allegiance to different kings and lords and fight for them because their lands are gone. So the lore with this army is that this army is a nomadic army that travels throughout the old world, kind of like in a crusade, if you will, trying to take back individual holds that have been lost over time. And what they're trying to do is trying to reestablish some of the lost territories that were destroyed. And so the idea is that each unit is a different clan made up of survivors and refugees from older clans who had fallen since those time periods and trying to take back their lost holds. And that's why it's called the Fellhold Nations, because, their nations have fallen apart. And that's pretty much the narrative I'm kind of going with for each of these units. So with this one, we're going to start with the middle unit first. We'll then go off to the units on the left, and then we'll take a look at the units here on the right. We'll talk about exactly what their design scheme is and what we're trying to do with them. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this started. All right, so the very first unit we're going to talk about is this one. This one is called Clan Roadsucker, is what they're called. This unit here is led by Dwarf Lord. His name is Lord Ivar Bodison. Basically the Lord of Fallen Holds is what he's called, and he is of course a Dwarf Lord on shield bearers. I kind of talked about this guy a little bit in detail last time when we talked about this army. This is the old, I think, 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle Lord Elric, I believe is what his name was. He was a special character from the 6th edition of Warhammer, and he's actually the first Dwarf Lord on a shield bearer miniature that came out. The idea is supposed to be that originally that his shield belonged to his great ancestor, who was a giant for dwarf, and he rides on a shield to fight because he wants to uphold the legacy of his ancestors. But anyways, in the new, and well, not new anymore, in the 8th edition Warhammer, they just relegated this guy just to a general character. I love the absolute character looks of this character. And the reason why I named this guy Ivar is because I do watch that show Vikings. I'm also a history buff, and there was, according to history and lore, there was a Viking named Ivar the Boneless. The guy had a disease where he couldn't fight in battle, so because that, a lot of people had to carry him. A lot of his fellow Vikings carried him into battle. The guy was a known strategist, and if you're a fan of the show, you know what he's about. He's very ruthless and cunning and stuff. I don't know if that translates well for dwarves, but that's where I got the name for him. So his name is Lord Ivar Bodison, and this clan is called the Roadsocker, Clan Roadsocker. And the reason why I named him that is because in Norwegian, I believe, the words Rod and Socker are words for Red Sox. Now, the reason why I did that is because, like I said before, this unit here particularly, was bought as a gift by my friends. We went on a trip to Boston, and while we were there, my friends bought a battalion of dwarves as a gift. And so I took all those units and I put together to make this one giant unit, and since my friends are also fans of the Boston Red Sox, you get the idea from the name. So as you can see, it's a very clean kind of unit. I've basically made a variation of the different Red Sox uniforms over the ages. So there's a lot of white, a lot of red, so their sleeves are primarily white with a lot of red accent pieces. In fact, if you look at their boots, let me see if I can zoom in real quick and focus. Let's see here. Sorry guys, I'm using a DSLR in order to make this happen. So if you look at their feet, for example, let me get that focused. So you can look at their feet, all their boots are red, and the reason why is to show that these guys are all, Red Sox, sort of is. Same thing with the banner. That's why it's got a runic B to represent Boston for the Boston Red Sox. And so that's what I went with on these guys. This unit's about 37 strong. It's got a Dwarf Lord with a shield bearers leading it. We also have a Runesmith here. This is from the 8th edition of Warhammer. This Runesmith miniature was very, very cool, very full of character. And that's one of the things I love about these dwarf miniatures, is because dwarf armies, they can be a little monochromatic if you paint them up a certain way. There's a lot of metal in dwarf armies, so if you're not careful, you could actually just make your army look like a giant blob of steel or gold, depending on how you paint them up. So I wanted to add some vibrant colors to it because, as you guys have seen in my previous videos, I am a big fan of vibrant colors. So that's why I went with the red and the gold to make it pop, and then also the white. And it's also kind of funny too, because this color scheme that I use for these dwarves is very similar to the High Elf Spearmen I use for my 8th edition Warhammer High Elf Army. And it's kind of funny because dwarves and elves do not trust each other, yet these guys have similar color schemes. The nice thing about this unit though is I could actually either run it as a horde of 40 dwarf warriors and have up as shields, or I can run it into 2 units of 20, make one like a normal warriors and make another one like longbeards if I wanted to. But yeah, that's pretty much the idea behind it. As you can see here also, I've also picked out some of the runes, details of the runes. Let me get zoomed in here real quick. So you can see I got the runes marked out in a bright turquoise color. I did that so that way it looks like it's glowing. Like the runes are actually glowing in battle, because that's what I imagine dwarf weapons do when they're fighting it out. So it's a huge honking unit. This unit of dwarves probably took up the majority of the time just because there's 40 of them and they take a long time to work. If you also notice too, more astute viewers as well, if you notice the bases, I've changed it up. Originally when I made these guys, I had the rims of the bases be a light stone gray color, but I didn't like it because it looked unfinished. It looked like it was just white when you look at it from distance, so that's why I changed the rims to a dark gray. And then of course I based the miniatures in sand, dry brush with a lighter gray to make it look like these guys are walking on granite and stone and stuff, because dwarves hail from the mountains. And wanted to keep with the idea of thematic bases for my army. So this is Clan Roadsocker, led by Ivar Bodison. This guy right here is Ragnar the Spellbreaker. He's their Runesmith as well. And that's pretty much about it. I do have a Dragon Slayer character. This guy came from the Battle of Skull Pass, is where he's from. I know Dwarf Slayers are not supposed to be with units. I am fully aware of that, because in the rules I'm not running him as a Slayer, I'm just running him as a Noble Warrior, because, Slayers unfortunately are not worth their points. You're just better off just getting normal Dwarf characters. But anyways, so yeah, that's Clan Roadsocker. Very, very happy with the way they came out with. So now that we're done talking about these guys in the center, we're going to transition over here to the left-hand side and talk about the units over here. Alright, so up next we're talking about these guys here. These guys are Clan Ysmir, the Vengeful Ones, what they're known as. And as you can see, it is a unit of 18 Quarrelers, and that's the reason why they're called the Vengeful Ones, because, Quarrelers, Vengeful, it just I love words. Anyway, it is a unit of 18 Dwarf Quarrelers. As you can see, these guys are from the 8th edition of Warhammer Fantasy. I also have the command group, I believe, is also from the 8th edition as well. And as you see, these guys came out very, very cool. I'm just really happy the way these guys turned out. Let me zoom in real fast with this DSLR here. Let me see if I can zoom in there. There you go. And we can focus it up. So I decided to go with like a yellow color scheme for these dwarves. Ooh, I'm getting blurred out here. There we go. I decided to go with a yellow color scheme for these dwarves, just because I like I said before, bright and vibrant colors. And like I also mentioned before, the lore of these guys is supposed to be that these guys are dwarves who have been defeated and they lost their homelands, and so now they're on crusade to get their homelands back. What I love about these dwarf miniatures, even though they're, kind of, stoic looking, they actually have a lot of character to them. They got like this grim look of determination, like they're going to bring the business into you because that's what they do. So these Dwarf Quarrels are very, very fun to paint. The crossbows took a very long time to paint up as well because the crossbows are very steampunk looking. They have a lot of gears and knobs and, handles and cranks and stuff. So they look really, really cool. I also removed some of the string on the crossbows because not all the crossbows had string on them. So I just removed them to make them look all the same, to make them look really cool. Once again, I used accent colors of yellow. I've edged out their armor in brown to make it look like leather. And then of course use some blue to make it kind of pop because it's a nice contrasting color to use on dwarves. So these guys came out really, really nice as well. Also used turquoise to pick out the few bits of jewelry as well as runes that these guys also carry as well. And the nice thing about Dwarf Quarrelers and dwarf soldiers that use missile weapons, they can also equip shields, they can also equip great weapons, in this case for the Quarrelers. So it's a nice, flanking unit to use to fight back against your opponents. So this is another really awesome unit that kind of came together as well. I'm very happy with the way the color scheme came on these guys too. These guys really pop on the battlefield as well, so this kind of makes it really nice. Now, some people might say, oh, it's cheesy to bring crossbowmen or, you're running a gunline army for your dwarves. But, anybody who says that, it's like, what else are dwarves supposed to do, right? They got a movement allowance of 3. They're not very fast, right? And so, how else are they supposed to reach out and touch you? They can't assault you, So, but anyways, that's how dwarves work here, and these are the guys in the front rank. Now over here in the back, I have my War Machine crews. So let me get this zoomed in real quick. This one's called the Rememberer, is what it's called. It is a grudge thrower, hence the name the Rememberer, because it never forgives, it never forgets, because that's the way the dwarves are. They're tough and hard like the stone they carve. So this one was a really fun one to make. This is I think a 6th edition miniature is what these guys came from. Now, nothing against the sculpts from the 6th edition of Warhammer, but this one was a fine cast miniature that the Games Workshop guys use. And fine cast is a printer resin to make their miniatures. It's kind of a pain to work with because fine cast miniatures are so freaking fragile. I mean, they can snap without any warning whatsoever. And plus, the sculpt quality is not as good as on different traditional plastics as well. But, do what you can, run with what you got, work with what you got. As you can see, all the War Machine crews, these guys are also decked out in their own color as well. These guys are painted with turquoise. I use the turquoise color because I do like teal. Teal is a very eye-catching color in the battlefield, so because of that, I've painted up all the War Machine crews exactly the same way. These guys are supposed to be from another clan as well. I really haven't come up with a name yet for these guys, or for the War Machine crews, but the idea is to be that all 4 War Machines are from the same clan, and they're working together with Lord Ivar Bodison to take back the holes that were lost. What I really love about this miniature though is the scroll work on the catapult itself. Let me zoom in real quick so you can see a better look at that. That scroll work is absolutely beautiful. You see these kind of like intricate knots along Celtic as well as Nordic traditions, so especially in their designs and their artwork. So it's very, very cool, very, very fitting because the dwarves are supposed to be like, Norwegian, because that's where the legend of dwarves come from. It comes from the Vikings. And as you can see, we also have runes picked out as well in turquoise as well to make it look like this thing is, glowing. Actually, of all the War Machine miniatures, this one actually has the most runes on it. You can see some runes back over in the background here, in the back. There's also runes written on the side of the thrower. Very, very cool. And same thing with the miniatures. I've also painted them and picked them out with gold because gold and yellow just really goes well with teal. So very, very happy with the way this grudge thrower came out. And of course, no Dwarf Army is complete without a cannon. And let me get zoomed in real quick so get focused. So this cannon here, this one is called, I forgot what I named this one. I think I called it Crimson Death or something like that. I forgot the name of it already off the top of my head. I just got done naming these things. No, I'm sorry. This cannon is called, no, never mind. I forgot the name of it. You know, sorry about that, you guys. When I do a battle report of these guys, I will definitely mention the name of these guys. But it's a canon. And if you guys notice, this one is from, I believe it's the 7th edition of Warhammer. When Warhammer came out with the Battle of Skull Pass box set, it was goblins versus dwarves. So this cannon is very, very short and stubby. It looks like a little like toy, you know, compared to some of the great cannons that the Empire has. But I really like the way this crew came out. Once again, it's picked out in turquoise, just because it's supposed to be like the same clan as the guys use the grocery store. And very, very excited the way these guys came out. Just a beautiful, a lot of metallic colors, using different metallic paints in order to bring out the different colors. Very, very happy with the way these guys on the left-hand flank came out. And so with that being said, we're going to move on to our last units over here on the right-hand side. We'll talk about those left and finish up this video. Alright, I actually remember what the cannon's name is called now. It is called the Sorrows of Eld, is what I call that one. So, you know, because, you know, it's supposed to represent the, you know, old sorrows that these guys have had from losing their homeland. And that's the name of the actual clan. It's called Clan Eld is the name of the group, and that's where all the war machines come from. It was bothering me, so I had to go back and find out. So, now that we got that cannon taken care of, let's move on over here to the right-hand flank, to our very last set of guys for the 2,000 points that we've painted up so far. Up in the front, we have 17 handgunners. These guys are called Clan Hein, also known as the Fallen of the Dragonbacks. And the reason why they're called that is because, according to the lore, there is a clan called Clan Hein in the lore of Warhammer. And these guys are supposed to be from the Dragonback Mountains that, you know, lost their homelands. Because I'm trying to keep with this theme of dwarven clans that are coming back for vengeance. And to represent the fact that these guys were from the Dragonbacks, and that's where the dragons come from, I decided to paint up this unit with like a nice bright green color to represent dragon scales. So these guys are a little bit different with their design concept. As you can notice, almost all my dwarves, let me go back real quick. If you look at all my dwarves, they all have silver helmets that are rimmed in gold and bronze. That's for all the units I've gone so far. With these guys, I've decided to paint up their helmets a copper color instead, and then rim it in silver to make them look a little bit more distinctive. And the reason why I gave them coppered helmets is because these guys are thunderers. They use guns. And anybody knows anything about firearms, the most common type of firearm you have is what's called a full metal jacket. It's basically a lead bullet that is rimmed in copper, so that way it has a better chance of, you know, flying down the barrel and being more accurate and more penetrating for bullets. So because these guys are gunners, I decided to kind of go with a copper jacketed kind of look for them. So that's the reason why their helmets are bronze. And if you also notice as well, I have a lot of bronze and copper colors throughout this unit as well to represent the fact that these guys are handgunners. So I'm very, very impressed with the way these guys came out. This lime kind of like bright green that they were wearing, and I rimmed their coats in like a holly green kind of color. It just really pops. It just looks really, really cool, especially when you combine with the silver, the gold, and the bronze that these guys are carrying, because, you know, they're dwarves. That's what they do. So these guys are 17 handgunners. And if you notice, these guys are a combination of both types of miniatures. These guys are from the 7th edition of Warhammer, from the Battle of Skull Pass. That's where the command group comes from, as well as many of the handgunners. It's a unit of 10. And I had 7 more 8th edition Quarreler miniatures to reinforce them to make it look like a full unit of 17 handgunners. Now, the reason why these guys only have 17 handgunners is because in their rank they also have a special character. Let me go and pull this guy out a little bit so that we can get a better look at him. This is Grim Borlaxson. He is the special character for the Dwarf Army. He is a dwarf engineer. He gives bonuses to, you know, your artillery pieces, as well as thunderers and crossbowmen as well. Very, very cool character. Very, very full of, you know, different looking clockwork and very steampunky looking design. Took a long time to paint this guy up. Very, very happy with the way he came out as well. The details on this guy, especially if you, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see, especially on his belt. Let me see here. You can kind of see it there. He's got some scroll work going on in his tunic, as well as he's got like braids and all kinds of stuff. And he's also got little runes on his Grodraker. This like little steam powered thing he's wearing on his backpack, that is a really cool looking design. It was really, really fun to paint that as well. So this is Clan Hein. They're 17 dwarf gunners, hand thunderers, with an engineer special character to them, just to give them a little bit more punching power with their guns over long distances. So they're very, very cool looking as well. I just love the way that these guys turned out. Just love that copper color. In fact, I'm doing that with another unit that I'm painting up right now to add to this Dwarf Army as well. And while we're at it with the story of characters, I forgot to mention here my battle standard bearer, the guy carrying the Boston Bee. That guy, his name is York Shieldbreaker is what his name. He's a special character. He carries the battle standard for the army. I plan on using either the Master Rune of Valaya, if I pronounce her name, Either that or, you know, the Master Rune of Grugny, so that way they get ward saves and stuff like that. So, but anyways, he's supposed to be on an Oathstone as well, so that makes this unit of dwarves very, very powerful. But anyways, back to the handgunners here. So these guys were a lot of fun to paint as well. I use a lot of greens to paint them up, so that way it just kind of pops against the battlefield as well. You know, plus when you think of dragons, you think of green dragon scales, and so that's the reason why I paint them that way. Have a lot of, one of the things I notice about dwarves is the beards. If you'll notice here, let me zoom in real quick, the beard that they have is the most prominent part of the miniature, actually. Covers up most of the torso. And there's some good things and bad things about that. Good thing, it's just very simple to paint, because you got, you know, dwarf beards that kind of take up most of it. But the reason why it's also kind of a pain too is because if you'll notice, these dwarves have like guns going across their chests and weapons going across their chests. So it's kind of hard to get into the nooks and crannies of dwarves to paint up those beards. So if you buy brand new dwarf miniatures, my suggestion to you would be to paint the miniature first before you assemble it. Get the torso done and then glue on the arms, then paint the arms, because it's a much easier time of doing it. In fact, I made the mistake of assembling all these guys first, and as I was trying to paint them, I was like taking them apart bit by bit to get to the torsos and then gluing the arms back on later on. But anyway, I digress. Very, very cool unit here. And then the back, finally, we got our last four war machines that we have from this army. We can zoom in real quick. We have the Decemberist of Winter's Past as the name of this weapon. It is a dwarf organ gun. It's from the 8th edition of Warhammer. It was a kit that they had that also became a cannon as well. Very, very cool. I love the engineers and the crew that come with it. As you can see, this guy here, let me zoom in real quick for him. He's got, you know, a robotic arm, so that's kind of cool as well. So these guys are all, you know, middled out, so it's very, very cool. If you look at the top here, you can also see that they have runes on the top of it. Pick that out in turquoise to make it look like it's glowing. Very, very powerful war machine, and also a lot of fun to paint and make it look really cool as well. Really happy the way that came out. And then lastly, of course, we have Crimson Death, which is a flame cannon. This is a proxy miniature. It is not the real flame cannon because I'm not going to spend money on buying a new one when I could just use an old miniature. Now this one, I am not sure what war game this miniature came from. My friends, from a long time ago, back when I was in middle school, my friends were getting into Warhammer. And so I forgot, one of my friends, he bought this miniature. I forgot the name of the line of it was. It was a cannon, clearly it's a cannon. But it's got this huge flame design, you know, carved up on the barrel on it. Now I'm not sure what war game that came from because my friends lost the wheels and they also lost the crew that went with it. But that's okay though, because that just means I could use that for whatever I want to and paint it up for Warhammer. So in this case, because it's got a lot of these flame designs on it, let me see if I can show you a little bit of a sample at the top. Because the flame designs on it, I decided to make this into a flaming cannon, a flame cannon from the war for the dwarves. And so that's what I use. I use a couple of extra crewmen. As you can see, I got a guy back there wearing a robotic mask. This monkey here, I needed additional crew member for, so it's a spare monkey mascot from an Empire army. If you notice, if you look at this guy, he's actually carrying a little barrel under his arm. And he's also got like a little wick and his tail's holding a wick to light things up. So I imagine what ends up happening is the dwarves load the cannon up, and because a flame cannon is so dangerous, they get a monkey that they trained to run up there and throw the wick inside it to set on fire, because if a monkey dies, you know, oh well. Not if a dwarf dies, actually. To all of you who are out there who love monkeys, I apologize for that joke. That could be kind of rude. But anyway, I digress, like I said before. So that's what these guys come from. So that's what I was looking. And this guy here, okay, now this miniature is very, very cool. But the reason why I like this guy so much, because look at the arms on this guy. Hold up, let me zoom in on that. Look at this guy's arm, man. He's got like some serious, you know, triceps, biceps, you know, muscles. This guy's just a beast, right? It's like, what is this guy doing being a crew member for a cannon? This guy should be like out in the front, you know, sticking it to doing goblins and stuff and smashing with warhammers and things, because this guy looks bad. He looks like a bad dude. You know, he's bald and he's got like a beard. He just looks like a fierce dude. That is not a guy I would want to fight at all if I give him a chance. Which is also kind of funny because like dwarves are like the only army where the artillery crews can actually fight and do a very good job. They actually have stubborn, so like they don't break. So that's just kind of cool in my opinion. But anyways, that is the dwarves over here on the left-hand side. So that's good for this one, you guys. If you guys have been following us up on Facebook as well as Instagram or Blogger, you would have seen the progress this army is being made. I have about 3,000 points of dwarves in total that I need to paint up, so this is a very large portion of the army. I'm about 2/3 of the way through. I got 2 more units to paint up of infantry. I got to paint up a unit of rangers as well as a unit of hammers that I still got to paint up. And that'll finish up the infantry units, and then I have the gyro bomber to paint up, and then this army will be done. And then, of course, we'll move on to the next one because the work never ceases. So that's good for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, as well as blogger.com for all the latest and greatest news about our hobby. That's good for this week, guys. Also, when this video goes up, is going up on December 31st, so New Year's Eve is where this video will be posted. So for all of you out there, boys and girls and men and women of all the wargaming out there, Happy New Year's to you guys, happy holidays, looking very forward to the year 2019, getting one step closer to the future, to making things feel better and bright. So, for that, from all of us here at Commander CheapSkate, that's good for this one, you guys. You guys take care, you stay classy, and you guys peace out.